Hey everybody, welcome to another Cycle News road test. The last couple of weeks we've been bashing around on the brand new 2020 BMW S1000 XR. Now I've been a huge fan of the XR lineup since it came out back in 2016. Actually hit the States in 2015 as a 2016 model. Yeah, I love that bike. I used to think that old one was so cool. I actually had one for about 18 months and yeah, just love the thing. A lot of things I didn't love about it. Didn't have a lot of punch off the bottom. You had to really rev the thing out. It also had insane vibrations, whereas if you did a decent ride, your feet and your bum and your hands were just tingling like hell at the end of it. It took days to get over it. But yeah, that was the old bike. This is the new one. So yeah, BMW has gone through this thing top to bottom, cleaned it all out, changed everything. Yeah, it's now, I don't think you're going to see an update on this thing for quite a while because they've done a really good job on this one. Everything's new, the frame's all new, frame's a smaller, lighter frame. The swing arm doesn't use a linkage now on the rear suspension anymore, so you get a bit more of a direct feel of the suspension, of the rear suspension. The engine's new, basically new at least, and they don't have BMW interestingly hasn't given us the shift cam technology that debuted on the GS and the S1000RR Superbike. That's interesting in itself because the S1000XR borrowed really heavily from the original, well, first two iterations of the S1000RR Superbike. So for BMW to turn around and say we're not going to use the shift cam technology on this was interesting. I mean, they basically came out and said it was cost and complexities and PR speak effectively for saying that it was going to jack the price up a bit too high if they didn't do it, or if they did it. So in the end, like, it was better, I guess, for the end consumer that they didn't do it. But it would have been. I think it would have been nice just because the system does work very well. However, it's got its own little shortfalls here and there. But anyway, that's another story. So yeah, the S1000XR gets pretty much traditional cam timing, I guess you could say. They've got 165 horsepower, claimed 165 horsepower, which for a sport touring bike is right up there. That's really getting up there. So I mean, it's actually not that more powerful at all than the old bike, to be honest, and I think that's probably why I liked it so much. All new electronics, new dynamic ESA suspension, which now with the rear suspension, it's now a load sensing suspension system, whereas before you had to manually sort of set in what you were doing. If you had your preload, if you had your ride with luggage and your different weights and whatnot. Now with the optional dynamic ESA Pro, which is what they're calling it, and that's the thing with these bikes. There's so many options. It's crazy. Yeah, with the dynamic ESA Pro now, it's basically a sensing system. So it senses when you get shifting weights on the bike and adjusts itself accordingly. So yeah, it's a really funky little system. I got to admit, I didn't do any two-up riding on this. The wife's we've still got a 3-year-old, so there isn't much time to go two-up riding these days anymore. So I'll have to defer that to the guys that have done some two-up riding, and no doubt there will be lots of guys out there that do it. But I can tell you that just from the seat of the pants feel, I mean, it's a brilliant bike. I can't tell you otherwise. I really, really enjoy this bike. You've got all sorts of new riding modes in there. You've got your electronic suspension, you've got cruise control, you've got heated grips, you've got quick shifters. Oh man, it just goes on and on and on. And just before I go on, all those things are part of options. Now, BMW basically admitted that their bikes no longer come to the US standard with nothing on them anymore. Everyone who buys these things, they option them up. Whether you're buying the performance package, which gets you your electronic suspension and your quick shifter and things like that, or you're getting a carbon package, which actually that's the thing. Our bike had a lot of cool carbon fiber bits and pieces on it. Doesn't really do much as far as making it go faster, but it looks super cool. Yeah, so there's all kinds of different options, and the accessory catalog for the S1000XR is massive. It's absolutely massive. Almost too many things, I've got to say. But from the hot seat at least, they've dramatically altered the ride position. So you now sit a lot more further forward, your hands are closer together, and you're also a little bit sort of lower in the seat. Like they've changed the entire cockpit structure. Whereas before you used to sit kind of on top of the bike, now you're sitting very much in the bike. And part of the reason for this is they've changed this seat. They've made this seat this bizarre shaped seat. I don't really understand why they've done it, because it's almost like a racing bucket seat in a car. I get the theory behind it. It's designed to cradle your bum basically, and so that if I suppose with guys and girls, maybe with a bit of meat in the trunk, it'll be all right. I think I've probably got a bit of a bonier backside than some guys, and I found that the seat rails along the side kind of dug into my legs a little bit, and it also, because of the way the seat curves back up, if you wanted to scooch back and sit up, it kind of pushed your bum up like that, which is kind of weird. I admit I wasn't that thrilled with the comfort from that seat. This will be something obviously that people are going to be able to change over the time. There's going to be a million people who are going to be making aftermarket seats, and BMW's got high and low seats and all sorts of stuff, but I didn't get to test any of those things. But by the looks of them, they also look like they have that big cup shape, which not that great in my opinion. Another thing which I absolutely hated was the screen. I guess it's a big thing for a touring bike, sport touring bike, but I just can't stand that screen. And it's the same one with the old one. It's a high and a low screen, and whatever, I mean, I'm 6'1", whatever position I put it in, it either went there or it went there. And let me tell you, when the screen is that wide, as wide as your shoulders basically, the wind, when that thing hits you, it's just so you need to be 5'10" or under, or 6'4" and above, to be able to get full protection or no protection. My theory is that you get rid of the bloody screen and go and get yourself a shorter screen if you're a bit taller, because that way the wind hits you in the chest and it makes for a much more comfortable ride. I had to wear earplugs with it because I just couldn't stand it. My head was buffeting all over the joint, and yeah, not fun. On the plus side, good side of things with the XR, and trust me, there are many good sides. Like the comfort side of things, you can customize that sort of stuff. Stuff you can't really customize, suspension action, aside from Dynamic ESA Pro, or engine, stuff like that. Thankfully, that stuff is just awesome. Man, these things are so quick. It's crazy how fast they are. And that only tells half the story. Yes, you can go out and blitz super bikes on these things up to certain speeds, and you'll be able to, if you're a decent rider, you'll wax most guys in the A group on the local track day on one of these bikes. But it has a much more, like, there is a lot of power, but it's a very approachable style of power. There isn't a lot of difference between the four riding modes that you get in terms of actual throttle delivery. Rain mode is a fairly big difference, as you would expect, but the other ones, the road, sport and custom, there's not that big a difference in terms of how fast the thing picks up the revs. The big difference for me is when I was playing around with suspension and I had the thing in dynamic mode, that makes the bike really stiff. You really do feel every bump on the road, but conversely, it makes it an awesome canyon tour, a canyon carving, stately canyon carver, as it were. But yeah, that's the big thing. Like, you can run it in road setting, and road setting is really plush. That's what you're going to run in most of the time, as far as the electronic sort of suspension goes. The suspension action is really nice. It's funny because I really didn't get along with the electronic suspension on the S1000 RR Superbike, the new one. I felt like the bike had such a disconnected feel. I knew it was working, but like a lot of things, I mean, if you check out the Africa Twin video, I had the same problems. But the suspension on the S1000 RR Superbike, I didn't like that. Put it on the XR, on the Sport Touring version, and it's great. I was really surprised at the difference in feel and how it communicated with the rider. It was really, really nice. Even though it's as electric as it gets, it felt pretty good. So yeah, that was a real pleasant surprise. On that note, BMW has been the leader and almost let's be honest, almost the inventors really of modern electronics on motorcycles. Ducati as well has been right there in the game, but BMW were the ones that really started all this years and years and years and years ago. So they've had a long time to get the interface right in terms of how to adjust your modes, how to, change different settings and how many different settings that you can have on an individual menu. Now this time they've got this big 7-inch dash, which is just money. It is the most beautiful dash. It's so well laid out. There's so much information in there, but it takes a little bit to get used to, but it's nothing like as annoying as the Africa Twin was or anything like that. They've done it really, really nicely. It's very neat. It's very easy to use and very easy to understand. So look, they've done a really, really good job with that. So for me, the base bike is excellent. I think it's $17,645 here in the US for the base model, base model. Remember that, because as I was saying before, these bikes don't come anymore as base bikes. They're always going to have some little option here and there. The bike that I had, that had the tech package, premium tech package. It also had the carbon fiber package on it. Now the premium tech package gets you everything from quick shifter to dynamic ESA Pro to heated grips, cruise control, to your onboard computers, lightweight lithium-ion batteries, all that stuff. And that bumped the price up to, I think it was about 23 grand, just after like 23,100 or something like that. So it's not peanuts, you are buying a very expensive bike, but you also are dealing with an area of the market that, $1,000 here and there. If you're going to go spend 20 grand on a touring bike, like $1,000 isn't going to break the bank, most likely at least. So yeah, you can really play around a lot with the different accessories and the different options. There's all kinds of different packages that you can get with these bikes now. So yeah, you have a bit of fun with these things. I mean, BMW's website is actually really cool. Like you can go on there and just screw around and play with it and build your bike, as it were, and do 360-degree bloody modeling and all kinds of stuff. Like that's the kind of stuff the car guys have had forever. So it's really nice that the BMW, I mean, obviously BMW has their own car platform anyway. So yeah, it's nice that they've kind of done that. I mean, also in relation to the car thing now, BMW's M Sport program is now linked with the motorcycling program. Now that's really cool because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I always kind of related the two. BMW bikes and BMW cars didn't seem that far apart. It's not like Honda bikes and Honda cars or Suzuki bikes and Suzuki cars that have nothing to do with each other. BMW is probably the only company that produces the two versions, the 2 and the 4-wheel versions, that can genuinely say there's a direct link between the two. So now the HP program, which was your HP Race and all those really cool bikes of days past, that program is now gone. It's all about M now. So this is going to be one of those bikes, as I was saying at the beginning of this thing, that's probably not going to see any changes now for quite some time. If you think back to the original S1000 XR of 2016, 15, 16, it basically stayed that way all the way through. They've got rid of those vibes, thank God, from the handlebars through your seat, through your pegs, because that was bar none the biggest problem of the old bike. Like, it was so bad on long rides. So yeah, new dash, new engine, new frame, new riding position, which isn't that great, I've got to say. But everything else, it's awesome. It's a really, really good bike. Probably my favorite now in terms of the sport touring class, but also the first one that's kind of really pushed through in 2020, because the Ducati Multistrada really hasn't been updated that much recently. Only in the last couple of years it was. KTM's 1290 Super Duke GT hasn't really changed that much. So yeah, like they have had little iterations here and there, but they're basically the same things. But yeah, I got to say, I'm totally wrapped with this bike. It's a really, really nice thing. The old one was good. This one's better, even though it's seriously electronified, whatever. But yeah, good bike, a really good bike from BMW. They've done real good with this one.